Hey, welcome back to the show. This is Relax Radio with me, Nick, giving you guys company, keeping you entertained. You know what it is. We're talking about a lot of things that is happening right now in the UK, and some of this is this. Some foreign travel is going to be opening up on the 17th of May. Yeah, this is what Boris Johnson is saying right now, and we got a lot of stuff that is happening, like how there's a £1 billion UK India trade deal, which will create more than 6,000 UK jobs. Yeah, this is also what the Prime Minister has been saying as well. And yeah, we got also, stuff going on between the Prime Minister and Blinken, and they're discussing close alignment of the UK US foreign policy. Yeah, that's right. In case you guys are wondering who this is, my name is Nick, giving you guys company all the way until 6 p.m. only on a Real Talk. So, hey, if you guys got anything on your minds, if you want to talk about something, you can always feel free to hit me up on those numbers. It's 07852473473. Also, don't forget, you can check us out on our webpage, which is www.relaxradio.net. Also, you can check us out also on the App Store or the Google Play Store. Carry us all day, every day, 365, 24/7, giving you nothing but the hottest in entertainment, hottest in news, and what is happening across the globe. And yeah, we were talking about, like I said, the foreign travel is going to be opening up hopefully in the 17th of March. So it's just a little bit of hope for the people right now who are traveling, who want to travel, who is having plans to travel across the UK. And well, the Prime Minister Boris Johnson, he's been indicating that there's some opening of foreign travel on the 17th of May. So hey, woot woot for a lot of the people's out there. A lot of people must be happy about that news. I mean, this is some good news also. You really think about it. So he also said, though, it is important to be cautious. End of the day, yes, travel is going to be allowed. Eventually they'll have to open up the borders, but at the same time, you got to wonder. You need to be more careful. You need to be watching out. Especially when it comes to your environment, and what with there's new surges, going across the world, across the globe. Actually, all of these new type of viruses, the variants happening. It's all the more reason why we should try to stay safe and try to stay even more cautious. So yeah, more details are expected this week to confirm when and how international travel will restart in England. So speaking on Monday, the Prime Minister said we'll be saying as more, as soon as we can, but we have to be very, very, very tough. When you really look at it, things like that, he makes a fair point right now, with the situation going on, the COVID situation happening across the globe. Actually, it is important, that we be more cautious, we practice more caution, and we try to maintain all of this social distancing and all of that jazz, that is happening right now. It's just part of it all. That and hopefully people will, even after travel is allowed back in the UK, I think hopefully people will make a point. These are habits that they're going to learn and they're going to keep for a lifetime, and hopefully keep on practicing even after this whole pandemic, thing subsides. But make sure, in case like I said, make sure it's always good to be safe, better than sorry. And yeah, the Prime Minister, saying that there's a good chance of the 1 meter plus social distancing rule actually being scrapped on the 21st of June. So this is the plan, to get everyone vaccinated and to hopefully get everyone stopping. We have to stop all of these precautions. That's what he's trying to say. Hopefully we can get rid of this whole 1 meter distance rule. So for now, though, we still got to practice it. We still got to maintain it as much as possible. And he also said there was a good chance that this is going to be scrapped, and he stressed any decisions on changing the rules was dependent on the data, because end of the day, you got to know how many people are getting infected every day, the number of cases, is the cases rising, are we having spikes? These are things you have to wonder, and these are things that will directly affect whether we are going to be seeing a more eased up lockdown, more eased up restrictions, and more eased up all of these regulations as time goes on, or is it going to get more stricter? Is the government especially going to be more tight on our head, and they're going to be hounding us on all of these rules? It's just some of the things, and it all depends on these datas. So yeah, on like I said, on Monday, though, the Public Health of England reported 1,649 new cases, along a single death within 28 days of a positive test across the UK. So the recorded number of daily deaths is often lower at weekends and on bank holidays due to delays in reporting. Because end of the day, yeah, it is. It's going to be bank holidays. It's going to be all of these things combined. That all of these factors combined is going to show why there's a delay in all of these reporting. So that's just how it is, as as it's going right now with the situation. So yeah, like I said, the 50 million doses of coronavirus vaccine is now being administered across the UK, and this is what Matt Hancock, the health secretary, UK health secretary, has confirmed. So Mr. Johnson was speaking after a group of MPs called on to the government, and yeah, they can they're going to keep the travel rules in place beyond mid-May. So the all-party parliamentary group on coronavirus said that the arrival halls in airports risk becoming a breeding ground for the virus, because end of the day, yeah, we're bringing in different kinds of viruses from all across the world. There can be different kind of variants that we've not really registered as of yet. So it's just another risk that they are trying to tackle and they're trying to talk about. And yeah, this is just another reason why we should be more careful, why we should be more cautious, especially when it comes down to easing and traveling across the world. I mean, look, we don't want to be getting another case of another surge of viruses, or another surge of infection rates increasing in the country. That's just something, that's the worst case scenario, and a lot of people are not glad about that. I mean, look at the thing in India right now. It is a terrible situation right there. Our counterpart in India is suffering because of the sudden surges in the virus. So yeah, that's just all the more reason why we should be more careful. And yeah, we should always always count your blessings, because hey, this is just how it is. So yeah, the foreign holidays are currently banned though, but a traffic light system of rules is going to be introduced, with countries classed as green, amber, or red. In case you guys are wondering, we were talking about this whole traffic light system that the UK will adopt, especially when it comes to this. So yeah, the measures are essentially, how it works. Well, it's easy, simple. So the measure is, this traffic light system. It works when, if the passenger, they have to fill these passenger locator forms, right? So for all these three countries, it's green, amber, red countries are going to have to fill these forms. Pre-departure tests are going to be happening. So this is happening in all those three, signal lights, which is the green, the amber, and the red colors. And a managed hotel quarantine will be for red countries. So yeah, the countries in the red zone will be going under these managed hotel quarantine. And yes, self-isolation will be for those in the amber countries, coming in from those countries that are not really not 100% safe as of yet. So yeah, they'll have to self quarantine for 10 days at least. And the red countries is not really applicable as of yet. They've not really decided on a particular number. And yeah, when it comes to test to release, well, that's also not applicable for the green countries, but for the amber countries, the countries that are not 100% safe, well, on day 5 they're supposed to be doing a test, and there will be PCR testing though for all the three countries. People arriving for all the three countries, it doesn't matter, regardless whether you're coming in from a red country, from an amber country, or from a green country. You got to take the PCR test on or before day 2. So yeah, further PCR testing will be done for people in the amber and the red country zone. So yeah, that'll be on day 8. So after 8 days, you'll be getting more further PCR testing, and you're going to be isolated. So it just goes to show this is something that they're not taking lightly. So travelers to green countries will not need to isolate on their return, but they will need to take a COVID test. So yeah, arrivals from amber countries will need to go quarantine, while red list countries have the strictest of rules, with only UK or Irish nationals allowed to return, and they must pay to stay in a government quarantine hotel. So yeah, further details are expected this week, after the government said it will set out by early May how countries will be categorized. So yeah, Mr. Johnson was asked, about holidays during a visit to Hartlepool test site, and said experts were currently assessing which countries were deemed safe. But he also said, I don't think that it's important to be cautious in this, but we do need to do some opening up on the 17th of May, and I don't think that the people of the country want to see an influx of disease from anywhere else. I mean, nobody wants that. That's like I said, that's the worst case scenario, and that's like that is one of the things that we don't want to happen right now in the UK, with what is happening. This is just another thing that, we are trying to avoid, and we're trying to refrain. And this is the whole point why the government is following all of these precautions, and why the government is easing down, especially when it comes to travel, and only allowing UK citizens to travel in and out of the country. So yeah, that's just, what it is right now. And yeah, looking at things though, like I said, Mr. Johnson, when he's asked whether people should be planning their summer holidays, he said, "We'll be saying more as soon as we can." Right now, he's not going to give us anything no solid information coming out from Boris Johnson as of yet. Hopefully, as it goes by, he will give us a more concrete answer. And he says that, I think that there will be opening on the 17th, but we've got to be cautious, and we have to be more sensible, and we have to make sure we don't see the virus coming back into the country. I mean, it just goes to show this is just something Boris Johnson is trying to bring up, and what he is saying is, the current facts, right, as of yet. And he also added, though, that we need, and we've got a good chance of being able to dispense with the 1 meter plus rule from the 21st of June, but it was dependent all on these data. So yeah, it's reliant on these data. We can't really say anything as of yet. They can't really say what the answer is until the further data suggests whether we're going to do it or not, whether we're going to do it or otherwise not. So this is just some of the things that is happening. So yeah, Europe's plan is many in the travel industry are hopeful for holidays this summer, while countries such as Spain, France, Greece, Portugal, and Cyprus are preparing to open to tourists. So yeah, the European Commission has also recommended opening up to travelers who have received both doses of the vaccine. So yeah, the EU Commission have, they've recommended opening up all of these, to these travel, opening up the borders rather to tourists coming who've had both of the vaccine of the coronavirus 19 vaccine. So yeah, that is just another initiative why the UK is doing this right now. And it's great to see, that countries, like I said, like Israel can travel, and they're also trying to adopt this whole green certificate, this digital certification. And yeah, the boss of Thomas Cook earlier said that he expected many more popular destinations, particularly in Europe, to be open to UK holiday makers this summer, as they were making great progress. So he further said, Alan French said further that when the holidays, proper start at the end of June, we're expecting most of the countries that the UK goes on a holiday to, particularly to Europe, to be open. So we're expecting Portugal, Spain, Greece, Croatia, and so forth to be open. And it would be nice if Turkey was open as well. I mean, like I said, they're very hopeful for the situation and how they want, how they want all of this to be happening. I mean, this is just another thing, what our country, especially the UK, is expecting. I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon yet. It'll still take some time. It's still a work in progress. It's not 100% that the other countries that we can go to travel to these other countries. Well, Mr. French also said his company had noticed many people were booking holidays as large groups since they had not seen their families and friends in such a long time. So yeah, this is just another reason why people are traveling abroad together with their friends and family. It just goes to show, people have been losing touch with their loved ones and their relatives, and this is just another way for them to get in touch and to rebond and reconnect with all of them. So yeah, the first ministers of Scotland and Wales have previously argued that 17th of May would be early. It would be too early, rather, for foreign travel and holidays to resume, and no date has yet been set for rules to be relaxed. So Northern Ireland's executive has not said anything about when it expects to make an announcement. They've not really come anything. Like I said, they're not really, they've not really come with anything, concrete as of yet. But a representative from the country, and they're saying, but a representative from the travel industry in Scotland has said any plan needs to be agreed between the four nations. So if anyone is going to make a plan, it's not solely England as well. We gotta, discuss all this. All four of us have to come into a discussion about this. So there's no way it's going to work with Scotland operating a different system to England when you can travel freely across the border and fly out of an English, of an English passport. And that's exactly what will happen. This is what Alan Glenn from the Scottish Passenger Agents Association have been saying. So, unlike this, like I said, a lot of this is going to be dependent on the situation as it goes around. Hopefully this we'll be able to overcome this. As of yet, right now though, it looks like it's traveling to all the countries that you expect to travel is not yet 100% green light. So yeah, you're gonna give it some time until it gets there. So Labor leader Sir Keir Starmer said he will wait and see what the government announces, but said we need to be very, very careful. And he further says that, what we can't have is a repeat of last summer where the lists were chopping and changing on a daily or even weekly weekly basis. So yeah, according to the all-party group of the MPs who want the government to slow down with the reopening of foreign travel, airports should be made safer to make sure arrival halls have enough space for social distancing and to separate travelers coming from high risk countries. That's right, this is all a part of it. And yeah, they're trying to do all of this and they're trying to implement all of these things. I mean, hopefully they are going to be able to do it, but at the same time, you got to wonder what is going on. So yeah, like I said, they are like, Sir Karish Starmer is saying all this and he's waiting to see, and he's waiting patiently and seeing what the government is going to announce. And we have to be really cautious, especially with the situation going on. So yeah, according to the all parties, like I said, they are talking about, they want to make these arrival halls have enough space for social distancing and to separate travelers coming from high risk countries. So the Liberal Democrat MP Layla Moran, who chairs the group of MPs, said the model what we have right now has too many holes and is too risky right now. And it's staggering the government is even contemplating encouraging overseas holidays when airports are already struggling to keep the virus and new variants at bay. And the group also said stricter checks on COVID test certificates after the trade union representing border staff said officials spot around 100 fake COVID test certificates a day. It just goes to show, another reason why technology shouldn't be 100% on board as of yet. This is just another risk, like I said, this COVID certification that is going on. It's been receiving a lot of these, criticism and backlash from the public and the general public. I mean, mostly it's got to do with the local, certification where you have to show to your local pub or bar, and people are not really quite happy with that. And it just so happens people can also fake it. I mean, that is a thing as well in the UK. That is a thing not only in the UK, across the globe. When it comes to these digital certifications, you can always fake it. I mean, there's technology has evolved in such a way that we can actually replicate things like this. So yeah, it just is another, downside of all this digital certification. So yeah, a government spokesperson said the traffic light system would allow the UK to manage the risks from different countries. And he said, the government spokesperson said that we've introduced robust border controls to stop coronavirus variants in track, and every essential check we've introduced for arrivals has strengthened our defenses against these new mutations. So yeah, the next stage of England's lockdown easing is expected in 2 weeks. That's right, in a fortnight on 17th of May, as well as the possibility of international travel. And people will be able to be meeting, in groups of up to 30 people outdoors, while 6 people or 2 households can meet indoors. I mean, that is the plan. They're trying to get it into going. And hopefully, with what is, like I said, with what is going on right now, we can progress to that point where we can start, having more people around us and we can travel more, and hopefully we can have more people across in our houses. But for the meantime, the safe bet, I think, is to make sure you guys stay indoors and make sure you follow the protocols as given to you by the government and the guidelines, because it's just going to keep you safe. End of the day, it's your safety that counts the most, and the safety of the people around you. And with that being said, we are going to be taking a real quick break and taking a look at your time right now. It is 4:15. Good evening. Welcome back to Relax Radio. This is me, Nick, giving you guys right here on Relax. And hey, we were talking about a lot of these things that is going situations, what is happening. A lot of these things, is mostly got to do with, the delegations and all that, the summits that is happening in the UK. Is just some of these things that is, popping around the world. And it's crazy, with what is happening right now. And, Indian delegates also in the UK for G7 talks have started self isolating after the COVID cases. So, yeah, that's right. The G7 talks, like I said, they're going to be guests in the G7 summit. And yeah, the entire Indian delegation in the UK for G7 talks must self isolate after 2 COVID cases were detected. So, yeah, Indian Foreign Minister Subramaniam J. Shankar pulled out of face to face talks, saying he was aware of exposure to public COVID positive cases. And he met, Home Secretary Preeti Patel and in person on Tuesday, and but will now join the rest of the meetings virtually. And India is not in the G7 group of nations, like I said, but the delegates from the country which were invited. So this is just one of the countries, India is just going to be one of those nations that is invited. I mean, you can tell me your thoughts on this, why, like your thoughts on India being part of the G7 summit and being invited. And hey, you can always call us up and let us know what you guys think. The numbers to do so are 07852 472 473 473. Those are the numbers. You can always hit me up and dial me on those, and check us out on our website. We are big on social media. You can check us out on Facebook and Instagram, and we also go on Twitch as well. We got a lot of interesting content. Rather, we have rather entertaining content as well in those sites. And you can, while you're doing that, relaxradio.net. And yeah, the 2K, like I said, getting back and diving back right to it. India may not be a part of the delegations, but they were a part of the guests invited to the G7 summit. So yeah, they're not part of the G7 group delegates, but the 2 cases, which were picked up by tests in advance, and none of the parties had attended the meeting venue. The press association said Mr. Jaysankar has not been tested positive. So yeah, India is currently on the UK's red list, meaning travel from from there is banned, but some jobs are exempt, including representatives of a foreign country. So yeah, there's also some exemptions to self-isolation rule if it is confirmed that you are traveling to the UK for official business. They cannot be undertaken while self-isolating, and this is all according to the government's whole rules and regulations that they've been bringing into effect. So yeah, the G7 group, the world's 7 largest nations, so-called advanced economies, like I said, are made up of UK, Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, and the US. And yeah, next month there's going to be a meeting of the delegate leaders in Cornwall, and some ministers are currently in the UK for this talks. So yeah, the talks this week are essentially the first face-to-face meetings that they're having after 2 years of virtual meetings. And the Indo-Pacific countries that are invited into this meeting is India, Australia, South Africa, and South Korea. So yeah, like I said, on Tuesday though, Home Secretary Ms. Patel said Ms. Jaishankar and tweeted a picture of them wearing masks as they handled folders, saying it was a pleasure to welcome him as a trade minister. New trade and investment deals were being signed. So it is understood that because of strict social distancing was maintained, PHE has decided those in the meeting do not need to self-isolate. And yeah, that's just a lot of these things in right now, and they're talking about all these things, interesting things that is going on. And everyone attending the G7 talks will continue to be tested on a daily basis. So yeah, the senior UK diplomat said they deeply regret Mr. Jaishankar would not be able to attend in person and that he'd be meeting virtually. And they said, he will now attend virtually, but this is exactly why we have to put in place strict COVID protocols and daily testing. So this is all part of the whole, the whole gist of it all is it is important right now to be having all of these, precautions and to be very careful and self-aware of what is going on. So on Wednesday, Mr. Jaishankar said he was made aware yesterday evening of exposure to possible COVID cases. And as a measure of abundant caution and also out of consideration for others, he decided not to conduct his engagements in the, he decided to conduct his engagements and meetings in a virtual. Yeah, so virtually, that's what he wants to do. He wants to head on, onto these virtual sites and make the meeting possible. Otherwise, he can't come face to face because of the possibility of, spreading or transmitting the virus. And yeah, that will also be the case this with the G7 meeting today as well. So yeah, the meeting on Wednesday is between the foreign ministers, who were greeted by Foreign Secretary Dominic Raab with elbow and fist bumps in the courtyard of Lancaster House in London. They went to the summit room where the ministers were separated from one another by clear screens in order to minimize any risk from the coronavirus. So yeah, the talks are expected to discuss new ways, like I said, of to ensure fair access to vaccine stockpiles, increase support for the global vaccine distribution scheme known as the COVAX. Also on the agenda on Wednesday, like I said, is media freedom, arbitrary detention, and girls' education. So yeah, on news that positive cases have been found among the Indian delegation, Labour leader Sir Karim Starr said that there were questions that needed to be erased about how this even happened. How did this even happen? How did this even begin? And how did the people even contract the virus? So yeah, it's a reminder of how vigilant we need to be about our borders, is what he added. And he said, let's get to the bottom of how this happened, and we cannot have a repeat of this. I mean, it's a pretty obvious, what is that when you look at it from another point of view. Yeah, he is making a lot of sense as well, because this is just another risk. How are these delegates even exposed to the virus? I mean, yes, it is airborne. They say it's airborne now, but at the same time, these ministers and delegates have been taking care of themselves and have been making sure that they don't contract the virus from any other person. So it goes to question what they have to do right now and how they are going to be tackling this. So yeah, he also asked whether holding the G7 meeting in person was a mistake because of the risks of COVID variants. Boris Johnson said it was very important to try to continue as much business as you can as a government. And yeah, he says also, that as I understand it, what has happened is the individuals concerned are all isolating now, and I'll be seeing the Indian foreign minister later this afternoon, but that will be through a Zoom exchange. So yeah, he said he'll be meeting the delegate of India through a Zoom conference, and hopefully, they can have the discussions of how they're going to handle things moving forward, especially when it comes to the COVID-19 virus. Yeah, this is just, it's just crazy what is going on. It's it's out of control when you look at the whole situation. And these wealthy countries, including the UK, should there's been saying that they should spare some vaccine doses to virus hit nations before organizing booster jabs. This is what the World Health Organization is saying. Because one thing, like I said, since we're talking about India, the cases in India and the spike in India is overwhelming the health force. And yeah, a lot of this is because they're not having enough of vaccines in the country. They're not having enough of these oxygen as well and ventilators as well in their country. So it just goes to show, countries like ours are being asked to spare some of their vaccine doses to these countries with these virus hot zones. So yeah, Special Envoy David Nabarro said that top-ups and extra vaccinations should come a bit later. And he said COVID was bigger than ever, it's fiercer than ever, and it's causing more distress than ever worldwide. And yeah, the UK has said its booster program could start as early as September, and the government has also pledged to donate surplus vaccine doses to poorer nations. But the WHO has urged a lot of the rich countries, to do more and sooner and quicker as possible, as COVID cases are just surging in countries, including and not only limited to these countries. It is India and other South Asian nations. Yeah, that is right. And this is just another thing that they are trying to say. And yeah, if you look at the things of what is going on there, there's been these countries, the countries that have very poor testing, have also, been reported to have been a risk of being a major understatement. When the people are saying, oh, there's not that many viruses in the country, but there are that many cases. And most of these cases that you see on television is not really actually, how do I like to say this? It's not properly it's not showing the daily progress, but more on an average. It's just going to show you an average for a week. So yeah, that just shows, what the situation right now in those countries are. So yeah, as foreign ministers of the G7 groups meet in London, he urged leaders, essentially to Mr. Navarro, he urged all these leaders to begin to distribute spare doses to countries in those in grip of the virus amid a global shortage of supply. And he said he wanted to pledge and plead with the G7 leaders, with G20 leaders, with every leader, with everyone who's got influence to please recognize that we've got to try to get vaccines distributed to those who need them the most now in this period of acute shortage of supplies. And Mr. Navarro added that the top ups and other extra things and extra protection for people in wealthy and countries should come a bit later. I mean, I see what he's doing. He's trying to get what they're trying basically, Mr. Romaro is trying to look at the bigger picture, and the bigger issue is right now these countries that are this one that need this whole thing right now, the whole vaccine thing as well, because it's important for these countries. And yeah, it just goes to show what is the situation right now, and how why he's saying these wealthy countries can afford to have their top ups and extra protection at a later date. So yeah, it comes that the UK vaccine minister Nadim Zahawi said extra funding would fast track new vaccines to future proof the UK against new virus variants. And existing vaccine protects against variants such as the ones found in Kent, but experts say that the UK needs to be prepared as the virus keeps mutating. So Mr. Zahawi said 29.3 million pound funding increase would improve testing facilities at Porton Down Research Laboratory. And he also said that the booster program could begin in September or later in the year or even early next year. So, he's just going off and he's saying, okay, this is how, we can take it and how we can progress from this. And, he also said that clinicians would consider how well the protection from vaccine had lasted when deciding when to begin rolling out the program. So last week, the UK government ordered an extra 16 million doses of the Pfizer BioNTech vaccine, which he said would be used alongside other vaccines for the booster. That's right, and if you look at it, following the funding announcement, Health Minister Matt Hancock said, "We are committed to supporting the UK's flourishing life sciences industry, and this announcement is yet another critical way we will build back better to protect the country over the coming months and years." So yeah, UK Health Secretary Agency Chief Executive Dr. Jenny Harries said a new variant that can escape the current vaccines is the greatest risk of a third wave. And she is talking about the possibilities and how these variants, especially a variant that can fight all of these vaccines. When you look at it from that point of view, it just goes to show this is something that is going to be the highest. This is going to cause the highest risk. I mean, imagine a variant of the virus, rather a variant of the COVID-19 virus popping up, and it's immune to all of these vaccines. It's just going to be it's just going to usher in a third wave. So yeah, this new investment will help the country stay one step ahead of the virus by doubling their capacity to test vaccine effectiveness against emerging new variants. So yeah, they expect that the new existing vaccines to offer protections against new variants, particularly preventing serious illness and death. It is important that we continue to monitor the picture as it develops, and the government has already announced a deal with biopharmaceutical company CureVac to develop vaccines against future variants with 50 million doses per order. That's right. That is, all of this is going to be pre-ordered as well. So it's just showing, right now this whole COVID situation is going out of hand, and we need there's a lot of these risks, especially when it comes down to the variant of the vaccine, the variant of the virus. I mean, the variant of this virus is crazy because, like I said, what if we have the cure? We have the solution. We have, we've protected ourselves. We've gotten the jabs, the first jab, the second jab, Moderna, AstraZeneca, Pfizer, you name it, we would have gotten all of these cocktails of vaccines. But in the end, there's going to be that super virus rather, that is going to be immune to all of this. And it's just going to be terrible. It's just going to usher in, like I said, another wave of cases. And, this is one of the reasons why, the UK right now, they're researching all of this, especially when it comes to genome sequencing. They are the number one body in the world, to be focusing on this and to be finding new cases and new possible variants and chains of these RNA DNA sequences. So yeah, let's just hope with what is going on, we can hopefully find a better solution to all of these things. And yeah, like I said, the COVID restrictions are expected to ease on the 17th of May in England, Scotland, Wales, and subject to government approval though all of this. So in Northern Ireland, more restrictions may be lifted on the 24th of April. And with that, if you guys have any opinion or any thoughts on the matter, you can always feel free to let me know. Our numbers are 07852 473 You can always WhatsApp us. I mean, come this way, you can talk to me, tell me what you guys think. And also don't forget, check us out on social media. We're pretty big on Facebook, Instagram. We're on Twitter as well. We updated on the daily and all these latest stuff that is happening across the globe and across the UK as well. And also don't forget to download the app, from the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store to carry us all day, every day. But with that being said, we are going to be taking a real quick break, and we'll be right back after this. Taking a look at your time right now, it is 4:59. Good evening. Hey, welcome back to the show. This is Relax Radio with me, Nick, keeping you guys company and entertained and, keeping you guys up to date with what is going on. And one of this is a £1 billion UK India trade deals will create 6,000 UK jobs. And this is all said, by the Prime Minister Boris Johnson right now. And he's talking about all of these things. And one of this is that the Prime Minister has announced this new trade and investment deals with India worth £1 billion. That's right, £1 billion. It's a lot of money right there involved, and includes, more than 533 million of new investments from India to the UK, which is expected to create about 6,000 new jobs. That's right. Downing Street said that the new partnership would have paved the way for a future UK-India free trade agreement. So yeah, the economic links between our countries make our people stronger and safer, said Mr. Johnson. So yeah, the deal announced ahead of a virtual meeting with India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi includes £240 million investments by the Serum Institute of India, which will support clinical trials, research, and possibly the manufacturing of vaccines. Yeah, that's right. That is some good news right there. We always need the vaccines. Whatever said and done, right now, the situation calls for more vaccines along the way. The situation, especially when you look at things in India, our counterparts in India, they are struggling right now. The cases are going, but also that's also mostly to do with the people not really adhering to the guidelines set by their government as well. When you look at the situation over there, they're still doing these mass rituals, they're still having mass functions, they're still having these election rallies. All of these things should stop. In my opinion, all of these things are not necessary right now. They got to see the bigger picture, and the bigger picture is, people will be dying if they don't follow the rules, that is set by them, by their government especially. So, I hope India can get their stuff together. And yeah, the serum, like I said, is has already started phase one trials in the UK of one dose nasal vaccine for coronavirus in partnership with Codagenix. So yeah, Indian investments deals will create 1,000 new UK jobs each at health and tech firms Infosys and the HCL Technologies and Memphasis. So yeah, some 667 UK jobs will be created at Q-Rich Creations, 500 jobs at Ypro, and 465 at 12 Agro. So yeah, each and every one or more of them, then 6,500 jobs they've announced, today will help families and communities build back from the coronavirus and boost the British and Indian economies. Yeah, that is right now very vital when you look at the things. Hopefully this whole job creation will help also the situation that the countries are facing, because it's just tip of the iceberg if you really look at it. The Trade Secretary Liz Truss said that the jobs would be created within the next year or so. So she said that these commitments were very different from a free trade deal with the governments will start negotiating on this autumn. So yeah, discussions will include lowering tariff barriers and new agreements on digital and data. So yeah, the announcement on 6,000 jobs is really the tip of the iceberg, Ms. Truss said, and that the trade between the UK and India is worth about £23 billion per year. And the government hopes to double that by 2030. So what she further said is, what we need to do is get the huge tariffs removed on products like whiskey, which is over 100%, cars, which is also over 100%. And that is where the real opportunity lie for us. Hey, that is, that is the current situation right now. And what she's trying to address when you look at the things and situation in the UK. And yeah, to do that, the UK is likely to have, to relax immigration rules between India and the UK. And this is what Ms. Truss has added. So they are saying, they have to relax immigrations and the people for to travel between UK and India. So she further says that we already have made significant steps in improving the immigration regime within the post-study work visa, and we've seen a mass rise in Indian students coming to the UK. So business mobility is a key part of trade, and particularly as the UK and India are both very strong in services, you need to make sure you're able to get your professionals over to the country. I mean, when you really think about, that thing, there is a lot of potential when it comes to this. There's also a lot of long-term potential as well. So in recent years, the UK has sold more to Belgium or Sweden than to India, but the government hopes that, the closer ties with one of the most populous and fastest growing major economies could have huge long-term potential, especially as tensions with India are mounting. So yeah, there is issues right now with with China. I apologize, with China right now. So the issues right now with China is that, the UK is having a lot of these tensions. I mean, if you backtrack to it, there, most of this started, and the tension mostly started off with the Uyghur, population in China being mass executed, and the genocide that is happening there, and human rights, abuse that is happening in China. And this is one of the things that delegates at that time spoke about. And they had a row between themselves, China, the Chinese delegate, and the UK delegate as well. They're having issues back and forth. They're throwing a lot of back and forth, and then this caused, a lot of the rising, and how China is not participating in this year's COP24. 26 rather, COP26 this year. They're not going to be making a show. So, we don't really know. So we can see that the issues right now are rising between China and the UK and the general EU in general as well. So I mean, the UK has to look for an alternative, and their best alternative right now is the fast growing and the most populous country in the world, one of the most populous country in the world, and that is India. So yeah, I believe, that this announcement, which boosts access to India for producers of British fruit and medical devices, and means investment in the UK from India's vaccine producers, is just a taste of what could be achieved. But economists warn that getting a full deal with Delhi that lowers tariffs and non-tariff barriers won't be easy. So yeah, India is likely, for example, to want UK entry visa requirements for its workers and students to be eased. So yeah, this is one of the requirements also. Although they say that they're going to get a deal, they're going to get a lot of these lower tariffs and all of that. It's not going to be easy though. India, like they said, India will have their own requirements, will have their own rules. And one of these rules could also be, the UK entry visa requirements for a lot of their workers and students. And they want that to be eased. That's also just another thing, that all these economists are warning about as well. So attempts by the European Union, Australia, and in New Zealand to strike free trade deals with India have all stalled. So yeah, but as the nation grapples with the economic damage caused by the pandemic and the rising threat from China, it may now take a more pragmatic approach to brokering an agreement. So yeah, we don't really know what is going to be happening with the situation in especially in the UK right now. So when you look at things, businesses, especially meanwhile, the businesses, businesses concerning England and British have secured export deals with India worth more than 446 million pounds and are expected to create more than 400 British jobs. And they include a 200 million deal involving CMR Surgical, which will create 100 new UK jobs. And yeah, the company's next generation Verseus and a surgical robotic system, which helps surgeons perform minimal access surgery, will be rolled out to hospitals in India. So yeah, trade between India and UK is already worth 23 billion pounds a year, supporting more than 500,000 jobs. And this is all according to the government's statistics. I mean, they are talking about all these things, and they are saying that, okay, these are, this is the things that we can gain if we do a partnership with India. This is what the government is saying, the UK government is talking about right now, and they're talking about all these things. And yeah, like I said, it's all of this is worth 23 billion pounds. Yeah, 23 billion pounds. There's a lot of money involved in all of this. I mean, just to show that is something that is worth investing right now at the situation. But at the same time, the pros also could outweigh the cons when it comes to a lot of migrants coming into the country and overflowing the sectors that are required for them. So we'll have to see and wait and see what is going on. So yeah, Mr. Johnson said that in the decade ahead, with the help of new partnerships signed today and a comprehensive free trade agreement, we will double the value of our trading partnership with India and take the relationship between our two countries to new highs. So yeah, trade body, the CABI, said the updated trade partnerships shows the world the strength of our relationship. And CBI President Lord Billy Moria said that the talks would unlock opportunities for businesses, boost job creation and growth across the Okay, so yeah, Mr. Johnson had been forced, to cancel a recent. In case you guys are wondering, well, Mr. Johnson, Boris Johnson, had a recent plan to visit Delhi, but he canceled it because Delhi is facing battles with a brutal second wave of coronavirus cases. So yeah, the visit was designed to foster closer ties between two countries and had first been scheduled back in January. It was delayed after the UK's higher wave of COVID infections over the winter. So yeah, this is just another fact that is happening in when you take a look at things. Even Boris Johnson had to cancel his sudden meetings with the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi because of the situation, the ongoing prevalent situation of the coronavirus. So yeah, he delayed all of this, and yeah, a 4-day trip was scheduled for April before being cut back to just one day in Delhi before being postponed indefinitely last month. So yeah, with India's subsequent added, to the UK's travel red list. So on Monday, authorities in Delhi called for help from the army, and the government wants it to run COVID care facilities and intensive care units. So across India, case numbers since the start of the outbreak are closing in on 20 million. That's right. In response to India's coronavirus surge, the British Asian Trust has raised more than 1.6 million pounds in the last week through its emergency appeals. That's right. That is, the situation and the ongoing, the prevailing situation right now between all of these countries. When you look at, the problems in India as well, right? It's just crazy. They are also in the travel ban because of this. And a lot of these countries, authorities are asking for, because of these outbreaks, they've not been having enough of oxygen as well, oxygen supplies in their country. So, just taking a look at all of these things that is happening, the India, is a COVID disaster. And it didn't really have to be, though. A lot of people say, this is what happened in India is unfortunate. And, on Monday, a senior official from India's federal government told journalists that there was no shortage of oxygen in Delhi or anywhere else in the country. And as he spoke, several small hospitals, only a couple of miles from where he stood in the capital, were sending out desperate messages about them running out of oxygen, putting patients' lives at risk. So the chief doctor of one of the hospitals, a specialist pediatric facility, said that our hearts were in our mouths because of the risk of children dying. So yeah, they got supplies in time after a local politician intervened. So yeah, the federal government has repeatedly insisted that there was no shortage and they are only facing problems in its transportation. This is what Piyush Goyal, a senior official from India's home ministry, has said. So yeah, they also advise hospitals to ensure judicious use of oxygen as per the guidelines. So several doctors who have spoken have said that they are giving oxygen only to patients who need it, but there is just not enough. I mean, if you look at the videos on YouTube as well, and if you check out, the videos that is happening across the globe and on these, social media platforms, it is disheartening. It is heartbreaking, rather, to see all of these people dying. And it is unfortunate, with the situation that they are facing. It could have been avoided also. So a lot of these experts are saying, that the shortage of oxygen is just one of the problems, which shows both federal and state government were not prepared for, and they're having failed to, do enough to stop or minimize the damage of the second wave. So yeah, when you look at it, there has been warnings, in fact, being repeatedly issued, and some of these warnings include back in November, a parliamentary standing committee on health said there was an inadequate supply of oxygen and grossly inadequate government hospital beds. So yeah, they were warned back in November about all of these issues, about how they're lacking in the supplies of oxygen and they're having not enough of hospital beds in their, the government hospitals. So in February, several experts said that they feared an impeding COVID tsunami. So yeah, that is the situation right now. It is a surge. There's been a lot of these hotspots and there's been outbreaks all across the Indian nation. So yeah, in early March, also an expert group of scientists set up by the government warned officials about a more contagious variant of the coronavirus spreading into the country, and only for no significant containment measures to be taken. One scientist from the group said the government has not made any comments on the allegations. So yeah, despite this, on 8th of March, the country's health minister announced announced that India was in the end game of the pandemic. So where did all of this go wrong? Well, it's in the basics. So in January and February, the national number of daily cases fell to 20,000 from peaks of around 90,000 in September last year. So the Prime Minister Narendra Modi declared COVID beaten and all places of public gatherings were open. And soon after that, people were not following all of these safety protocols. And thanks in part to the confused messaging from the top, the big guy said all of these things, and a lot of the people got confused and they thought, okay, the virus is gone. We've beaten the virus. Okay, yada yada yada, this is what we're going to do now. We're going to get back to doing what we always do, and just forget like the virus even existed and not follow any kind of protocol. And this is where they went wrong. So Mr. Modi asked people to wear masks and follow social distancing in his public messages, and he addressed large unmasked crowds during his election campaigns in 5 states. So a number of his ministers were also seen addressing large public gatherings without wearing masks. So yeah, Kabul Mehla Hindu festival, which attracts millions, was also allowed to go ahead as well. So yeah, there was a big festival that was happening in the mid of April in India. So it's because it's like a political rally at that time. So a lot of these people attended this event, and it was many people were unmasked, and many people were not following the guidelines of the coronavirus situation, like the guidelines that they were supposed to do, like social distancing, wearing masks, keeping sanitizing, keep sanitizing your hands and all of that. But none of them were following all of those rules. So it was just a complete disaster and disarray. The whole country was in disarray because of that. So prominent virologists also were saying that the government just did not see the second wave coming, and they started celebrating too early. And yeah, taking a look at more on this story, the devastation has also exposed the underfunding and neglect of the public healthcare system in India. So there's been a lot of these heartbreaking scenes all across the Indian nation, and it's just terrible with what is going on. And my heart goes out to all the Indian population, suffering through all this. And several of these empowered committees were last year looking at the preparations needed to tackle the next coronavirus wave. So experts were baffled by the shortages of oxygen beds and drugs. So officials say that India produces enough oxygen to meet the spike in demand, but transportation was the problem. And experts say this should have been fixed much, much sooner. I mean, if you guys knew what the actual initial issue was, you export vehicles all across the globe. I don't get how there's not enough transportation of of the oxygen to all of these states in your country. That's just something that's something you'd have to call out on. And hey, that's just not convincing enough. So yeah, the government is now running, these special trains carrying oxygens from one state to another and stopping use of oxygen in industries, but only after many patients have died because of a lack of oxygen. That's what call too late. This a little too late right now, where a lot of people are dying, and it's just not working out for them at the moment. I'm just telling you, for all the people right now, this is just one of the things that the government should have been prepared for ages before this whole situation blew out of proportion. And they had to do a lot of these prevention methods as well, like genome sequencing of the virus was also very important. But groups struggled to get the funding for this. They had struggled to get the funding for genome sequencing. And, now in India is sequencing just over 1% of all the samples at the moment. So in comparison, the UK was sequencing at 5 to 6% at the peak of the pandemic. But you can't build, such a capacity overnight. And when you think about it, India's main hope was always going to be vaccination. So hopefully, as things and time goes by and as it progresses, we are able to get people vaccinated and hopefully counter all of the, tragic side effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. But with that being said, it is about that time of the day for me to head on out of here. And, I'll catch you guys again tomorrow on Real Talk all the way until from 3 to 6. So make sure you guys keep it locked. And until then, I'll catch you guys tomorrow, same time, same place, same frequency. My name is Nick, and I'm Matt.